Alright, welcome to part 12 of my Halo Custom Edition map creation tutorial series. In the previous part, I showed you how to seal this Forerunner tower into our main landscape mesh here. So what we have here pretty much follows the sealed world rules, apart from, this open edge which we have at the top. And I haven't glossed over the sealed world rules yet. I guess I'll do that now. Basically, the sealed world rules dictate that there should be no open edges, overlapping edges, vertices, or faces anywhere in your BSP. Because if there is, when we come to compile this into the engine, whilst the render only mesh, which is just generally what you see, will render completely fine, a collision mesh will not. Collision meshes require that everything be sealed, everything is one continuous entity from top to bottom, left to right, and up and down. A good example of that would be if I go ahead and bring out a Hydra. So let's just say, for the sake of argument, that this is our map, and let's say if we chamfer this a little, like so. We've had a little bit of detail to it, which is fine. Generally, your BSP will have all of its normals flipped, so they're facing inside rather than out. And then, of course, you need to enable backface cull. All that, and there we go. We're now viewing the mesh from the inside out. Grab ignore backfacing. There we are. So this is generally what we have here. Now everything here is sealed and continuous. There are no holes, overlapping edges, or any of that nonsense. Some people will say that you should also cut down on the number of n-gons which you use. So that's 5 or more sided polygons. I generally don't have a problem with them, but I always avoid using them because they can cause other errors when you're unwrapping your mesh, or the smoothing doesn't quite flow over your n-gons correctly either. But this itself is a perfect representation of a sealed volume. An example of where it would encounter an error would be if we have something like this, where we have these vertices overlapping each other. The way to solve this would be to just select all our verts and to weld them. So whereas before these were two vertices overlapping each other, they are now four vertices overlapping each other. They are now two independent vertices. And that goes the same for edges and such. That's no good. Typical open edges consist of just tiny little volumes of your mesh. Generally just corners which have a little bit of a hole like so, and generally they're quite hard to spot because they're almost always down to user error. But there'll be something like that, something which you can't really pick out, but they are there. And unfortunately, most of these problems which I've just shown you are generally considered not very impactful in today's game engines like the UDK, CryEngine, Unity, and they all have, they're all sort of workflows and stuff which you can get over that kind of stuff. And the game engines are just generally more flexible when it comes to rendering meshes in collision. So you generally wouldn't have to worry about stuff like that. But the Blam engine is kind of old and decrepit, and it has these obscene rules which can seem a little bit, for lack of a better word, annoying as hell. But that's the way it is. So anyway, let's continue. I'm going to grab my aerial platforms here, and I'm going to hit Alt Q, and I'm just going to separate them. So this is going to be my left platform, and we'll just rename this right platform. Okay, now with my right platform selected, I'm going to go into my hierarchy tab. Oops, select effect pivot point only, center it to object, then uncheck effect pivot point only, like so. I'm going to hit Z to zoom in on our mesh, and we're going to pull it out, and it's the same scenario as before. It looks to me like we're going to have to manipulate this, or we could push this a little bit higher, and that way we won't have to affect the mesh on the bottom so much. But we do have to remember to bring this up the same amount. So since they're identical meshes, I'm just going to select this one, do the same thing, effect pivot point only, center to object, uncheck the pivot point only option again. I'm going to select this mesh here, grab the Z coordinate, right click, copy it, or you can hit Control C. And because the pivot point will be identical here, since this mesh is identical to that, I'm just going to copy in that Z coordinate and hit paste by hitting Control V and then hitting enter. And there you are. There should now be yep, the same height as each other. Alright, and let's begin. Well, let's first sort of bring our vertices around to meet our structure. So I'll go into vertex mode, bring up soft selection, and pull that out slightly. I'm going to bring the fall off value down to 600 here. There we go. Remember, you don't want the vertices to be kind of blending in right away. You just want them touching, or near enough that they touch each other. Alright, that's being a little bit annoying. I wonder if I can. Oh yeah, that works pretty well. Okay, so that's good. Maybe you can pull this out a bit more. Perhaps do that. No, that's not going to work. Try that instead. Yeah, that's pretty close anyway, so we're good there. Here we need to move this forward. Like so, and that's good. Now what we need to do is just cut around our mesh, create a template, but before we do, I'm just going to sort out some of these faces a little bit, just so they're not all cramped and close together. Alright, that should be good. Alright, and I'm just going to cut roughly around our strut piece here, like so. Then I'm going to select all the polygons which make that up. On the inside of our template, you can go and flip around and check to see if you've missed any faces, but always be careful that you don't select anything somewhere over there. Good top tip, hit Alt X, zoom around your mesh, look for any red spots which indicate that you have something selected, and if you have something there, obviously that's not meant to be selected, then just Alt select that, and you're good. So I'm just going to hit delete, and we'll continue the same thing up here. No, we'll just stick that right where that is. It won't be that much of a deal, I don't think. Can actually push it forward a little bit, like so. Okay, same thing, cut around the mesh. Lovely. Flip around, grab those polygons and delete them. And okay, so this can be a little bit tricky. I'm gonna pull that vertex up to there because I don't really want to delete that. All of these are okay, except you. And I'd rather not delete what I have here. Oh, we'll just leave it, doesn't matter. So, just gonna cut Daisy. Down we go. Okay, lovely. And just fluff around. Probably best to use the select and move option. Delete all of that excess. Oh, and I have that selected, so you've got to be careful about that. Just gonna drag a big selection box over there, but there's nothing there, so it's okay. And hit delete, and now we can begin snapping our vertices to our mesh over here. So I'll hit S to engage the snaps tool, and that's a bit odd. There we go. For some reason that was unchecked, but it's good now. And I'm going to worry about my triangulation and topology later. I won't go into it right now. I don't particularly like editing my vertices and then editing the triangulation of the associated vertices on the fly. It's just something which I don't like doing, so I'll just collapse those two verts, snap that piece down, hit Control A, then weld, and you can check to see if that has welded because the number of vertices which you had selected should go down after you weld. So before we had 5,813 vertices selected. Once we apply a weld at the threshold of 0.1, we now have 5,806 vertices selected. So that number has gone down, which means that we have indeed welded those verts. We'll bring that vertice down there and then connect those two like so. That's a quad, so I don't need to worry about that. That is a misshapen quad. So I'll sort that out, give it a little bit more of a shape. I don't really need that, so I'm just going to backspace that vertex out and connect those two like so. Wonderful. Let's continue on here. Snap. To there. And there. Oopsie. And there. And we don't need those verts. So I'll just snap them all to there. Okay, I'm going to do a little bit of cleanup here with the target weld tool. And how should yeah. Alright, now it's not allowing me to target weld this to here, and that's because here we have three vertices overlapping each other. So if the target weld tool refuses to work, then it's usually because you have a vertex on your mesh which is overlapping with another vertex, in which case you just need to hit Control A and weld them together. Now if we try that target weld again, it works. And by the way, you can just right click to disengage that tool once you're done with it. Alright, grab those two, collapse them, grab these two again, collapse those. You know, it really is a time saver to set up your hotkeys and whatnot, keyboard shortcuts. I don't really bother generally because I use so many other different programs like Photoshop, Maya, and all that jazz. I don't really bother learning hotkeys anymore, apart from the default ones, because I just flip over from one package to another, and it just gets annoying remembering all the different hotkeys for all the different programs. So I just generally don't bother with it, but it is a good idea to learn a few hotkeys and to set a few of your own hotkeys just to speed up time. They really are a time saver, just so long as you can remember them. Okay, and I'm now going to, oopsie, deal with that, collapse those. Why do we have two vertices selected? Oh, yeah, I didn't want to do that. I just want those four. Or six. No, actually, six, that's odd. Four, there we go. Make sure. It's because we're selecting those there. So always make sure that you're selecting what you're selecting. What you mean to be selecting, I mean. Snap that to there. Snap that to there. Snap that to there. And I'll just move this down to the center here. And hit Control A, weld, and get rid of that unnecessary face. Right, and we have a few triangulation errors which we need to fix, so we can connect that to there, pull that up like so. Everywhere else, though, I believe we are good, apart from here, which we haven't fixed yet. Do that now. And I'll just snap you to there, hit Control A, weld, got rid of two vertices there, connect those two, and I'm actually going to bring this vertex up slightly. Connect those, and that to there, and we have an end gone here, so I'll just connect that to there, and that's now fixed. As for this, 1, 2, 3, 4, yeah, 5. Just going to cut that across like so. Wonderful. Alright, now we're ready to attach this object to our main mesh, and then all we have to do is just weld all our vertices together. So right click, attach. By the way, if the attach tool doesn't work, well, it should work, but if when you come to attach and then you weld all your vertices and you realize that there are still open edges around, this is either one or two things. It could be that you have that your vertices are misaligned, so you might have something like that, or most commonly you may have something like this. So generally, if you flip around your object, you'll notice that they are inside out at the back, and that's perfectly fine. And what I'm talking about is generally you have a back face which is not meant to be there. So if you have any back faces like that, just go ahead and delete them out, like so. Then hit Control A, and then it should weld. Because if you don't do that, you'll pretty much end up with an illegal face, and that's not going to work properly. So I'll just connect those two vertices there. Lovely. And we do have some smoothing errors. This is again because these two objects which we brought in have some smoothing groups which they both share, and those are, as a result, blending into each other and causing a few visual errors. Aesthetically speaking, that's all they're really going to affect, the aesthetic look. That can still go in a game engine, no problem. So I'm not going to worry about that. Let's focus on this piece now. I'm going to pull this out, and this bit is a little bit more advanced than before. I'm going to have to, don't really want to, but I'm going to have to kind of misshape this indent to suit our mesh here. So No point crying over spilt milk. Let's go into vertex mode. Use our soft selection tool. And bring that over. Bring this over as well. Oh, we're blending up there and I don't want to be doing that, so... Oh, yeah, that's much better. Lovely. This is blending too much though, so I'm going to pull that a little back. Like so. That needs to be pulled out a bit more. That's good. And we're just left with this bottom piece, which looks a little bit rawish, or like so. Lovely. And I think that is it. Let's begin cutting in our templates. So I'm going to just push this vertex up there and begin just roughly cutting around our shape, and remember to delete the polygons at the back. Don't really see the point of those. So I'm just going to target that one to there. Alright, we'll start from here and cut all the way across to there. Try and replicate this shape which we have here as best as I can. And that goes there, that goes there, that goes there, 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 and oh, that's kind of wrong, but never mind. Yeah, okay, we kind of went a little wrong there, but it's okay, no harm, no foul. Should be an easy fix, I hope. Let's just hit Control Z and go back a few steps. So, right, okay, so cut across to there. That should go down to there, and that should go across like so. And then that should go down to there like that. It's still a little off, I'm not sure why, but I'll roll with it. Before we do though, probably best to delete the back faces. We don't need those. Just make sure we haven't selected a few other pieces there. Accident. Just delete those out. Right, starting from here, same thing as before, just general snapping of our vertices. Remember, you can collapse any wastage that you have, or you can just target weld or snap it, whichever you prefer, really. that. Snap that to there. Snap that to there. Snap. Oh, we can actually collapse those two. And then we'll snap you to there. Snap that down. That is another aeroplane going overhead. Apologies again. I'm actually recording this tutorial with just the generic workstation microphone. I'm not using any, fancy piece of equipment, which is probably right. There is a lot of background noise. Again, I apologize for that. Pull that vertex out, slide it down, and I think I'll just get away with just collapsing those, target welding them to there. Oops, it's not letting me, so I'm just going to hit Control A, weld. Yeah, that took care of a few errors. There we go, now we can target weld to its respective positions. Gonna grab this vertex, pull it down, do the same with this vertex, and 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so that's 4, but I don't really like that quad, so I'm just gonna connect that to there. Bring that down to connect those two to counteract that smoothing error. Connect those two. Oh, I don't think it's going to let me do that. Let's just try doing that as weld. See if we get rid of any verts. No, we don't. Okay, so there's a back face here for some reason. Just going to cut around it. That might be an error on my part, I'm not sure, but just get rid of that back face like so. And I'll try re-welding that. Quite odd, but it doesn't matter. It's an easy fix. Hit Control A, select all our vertices and weld them now. And there we go. And that should now work. Okay. I think all our other triangulation is good apart from this part. And I don't like that. Connect. Lovely, lovely, lovely. And I don't think there are any more errors to fix. Apart from those, of course. Let's go ahead and pull this up. And we are, getting ahead of myself here. Collapse, snap, snap, snap those down to there. And we can either go up there, we can go down here. I think we go down there to there. Alright, I'm going to hit Control A, weld. Now we can finally attach this shape to our object and weld all our overlapping vertices, which we have. Just going to check the back face really quickly. Everything is good. So I'm just going to select all my verts, hit weld. Of course, we have some smoothing errors. Perfectly normal in this case. Oh, there we go. Sorry, my mouse wasn't connected properly. No, I'm gonna not select it. Yeah, there we go. Just go ahead and check the overall state of your vertices. You know, pull them forward if they need to be pulled forward. And gosh, we haven't done this top bit yet. I think we could just target all that down to there. Then kind of bring this vertex up to there. Kind of reduce all of this misshapen tension which we have. And I think in the next tutorial I'll fix these smoothing groups after we've attached those two bases. So hit Control A, weld one more time. Get rid of those n-gons. And we are good to go. Alright, so that's that. We of course do have some smoothing errors, but like I said before, I'll show you how to fix those later on in our tutorial. Just gonna connect that to there. Not sure why I left that out. That was a pretty bad lapse of judgment on my part. Connect those. Just make sure I haven't left any. Oh, yeah. What was going on with me there? Oopsie, didn't mean to do that. And alright, and I'm gonna call that done. Alright, so don't forget to save. And in part 12, I'm going to show you how to do more or less the same thing that we did up here with these bottom bases, generally just fusing them to our main mesh. But I'm going to show you a slightly different workflow you can use. More on that later. As of now, thank you for watching, and I will hopefully see you in the next part.